under certain circumstances, properties applies.
I mean, one of the things Professor Youngson, that's Kofi Youngson, always told us was that English is illogical. The English language. Anyway, let's get into our news review brought to us by Milo Energy to go further and Enterprise Life's Family Income Security Plan. Enterprise, your advantage, and First Atlantic Bank, refreshingly different.
All right, well, I have the Daily Statesman and nothing fishy in COVID expenditure. That's attributed to the finance minister, who, of course, was in Parliament making account for at least some of the expenditure. All right, GHS, no Ebola outbreak in Ghana. And this is following a simulation that was done in the north. A very good thing if simulations are being done. It really enhances our preparedness. How that ended up being reported as a real case, I will never know. Encroachers evicted from CSIR lands. Goil Bitumen planned to commence commercial production in August. It makes up all the front page stories in the Daily Statesman.
Now, the Finder is reporting this morning 18.19 billion mobilized, 12 billion spent, and Oforata gives detailed breakdown of COVID-19 expenditure. So, this is what generally was said. He said 18.19 billion had been mobilized for 2020 and 6.19 billion had not been spent. That's also by the end of 2021. Now 8.1 billion was spent in 2020 and 3.9 billion was spent in 2021. We actually spent 1.5 billion to support households and 1 billion to supply equipment and produce equipment is here and relief for health workers and 1.3 billion was released for Agenda 111. 875 million spent on security operations, evacuations, and sanitation and disinfection. 600 million disbursed to SMEs under the Coronavirus Alleviation Program Business Support Scheme, and 539 billion was invested in the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Now the rest are 853 million was invested in the Development Bank Ghana, and 401 million was released to NIA and EC. 1.1 billion for mass school reopening, and 775 million was spent on COVID-19 vaccines. There are two more I should bring to your point. 200 million as additional funding was secured, and budget support for different sources were also put in there. So they asked him to do that. But already, I don't know if the minority had already written their notes before they got there. Just when the man finished his statement, apparently they got the statement earlier. So they started raising questions. Some of the questions they have come up with quickly was that where is the difference we are talking about here? The 6.19 billion, if that's it, or 6 or 7 billion that you said had not been utilized. The response from a deputy finance minister was that, oh, no, we spent it on other areas for general budget support. Then they actually came back to say, now, hold on, let's put this together. You say you mobilized 18.19 billion in 2020, or is that what you mobilized the entire period till 2021 to? Because the president said we have spent 17.7 billion. In correcting the 17.7 billion, or no, not correcting, updated or setting the record straight, the finance minister termed that 17.7 billion the president mentioned as spent and called it mobilized. So the people are still asking the question, so what the president said in March this year, was it still amount we have spent, which was quoting data from the finance ministry, or it had just been mobilized? And why are there still some differences? So all of these were raised on the floor. Then the speaker said there were discrepancies, and because of these discrepancies, the various committees, health and finance, should look at it independently and bring a report.
Now,
say something.
Yes, the 18 billion that is being talked about.
Yeah.
If you look at 2020, we mobilized about 18 billion.
But they
in 2021, we mobilized an additional 6 billion, out of which 3 billion was spent. So when we say, for instance, that we spent 12 billion out of the 18 billion, that's a bit
It's almost like we
misleading.
only mobilized the money within 2020.
Not
Yet
at all.
spent for the 2 years, the 2020 and 2021.
Exactly.
And it adds up to the confusion around this, quite frankly.
But there is still an entire 6 point something billion which didn't make an appearance at all in what the finance minister accounted for.
That's what he actually mentioned.
That's what I'm
here.
talking about.
Yes,
So,
that's-
for instance, in the 2021, the mid-year budget review, for instance, the finance minister makes reference to some mobilization in 2021 so far and what had been spent. If you get into the 2022 budget, it would tell you, for instance, that these are the funding sources for the 2020 and 2021 budget following COVID-19.
Right.
In 2021, we're looking at GOG financing, COVID-19 related expenditure, some 4.5 billion, donor funds 1.783 billion, and the donor funds you're looking at World Bank health interventions, that's 1,153 million. You're looking at Korea, they gave us some 3.7 billion. You're looking at Korea again giving us 172 million, and Korea again another 172 million, and then Germany giving us 200 million.
There is obviously a need for other, MMDAs to come and make specific accounts. Maybe that's how the committees of parliament are going to
Exactly, if it does, and
proceed. Because I, for instance, I'm very interested in how we spent over 700 million to send kids back to school one term. To buy Veronica buckets and face masks for one term. How we spent that much on it. I want to know how that breaks down.
It's not interesting that after several postponements, this was supposed to put to rest everything surrounding the COVID-19 expenditure.
Exactly.
Then the parliament itself is of the opinion that there are discrepancies. Then you move beyond that. That's what the speaker actually pointed out. Then you move beyond that. You ask yourself, why are there more questions than answers now? After all this time to prepare and reconcile properly. Even when the minister was supposed to dispel, and there's a paragraph, that's a very interesting paragraph, 19. He says, Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, I wish to dispel the notion that there has been inconsistencies in government data on COVID-19. His Excellency the President intimated during the State of the Nation on 30th of March that we had mobilized 17.7 billion since 2020 to fight the pandemic. Now he clarifies that. But interestingly, if you go to the same State of the Nation's address, it says here, the President quotes directly, in all, data from the Ministry of Finance tells us an amount of 17.7 billion or 4.6% of GDP has been spent in containing the pandemic since
So it
2020.
wasn't mobilization when the president said it.
And
but
this
it
was clarification
mobilization
that the minister was actually putting in there.
Yeah, so I get the confusion, and I suppose it's I'm not always a fan of some of the decisions that are made by the finance minister and his ministry, but on this occasion, I think he has accounted to a certain point. But if we really want to know what happened with the money, we need to now start asking other people some questions, But yeah,
If
clearly,
so, can he just issue a subsequent statement and tell us these issues?
whether it
clarify
was
them?
mobilized or spent.
So today, how much was actually mobilized between the year 2020 and 2021? Put them together and give us a final figure. How much was spent? I mean, that would move it a little bit closer to clarity on the major figures, the headline figures, before we break it down and the committees do their work.
One of the things the probe will do is that it would break down, for instance, how much we spent on the purchase of face mask, how much we spent on purchasing Veronica buckets, how much we spent on the disinfection exercise, and then it would have a better understanding of all of it. Then also, when you talk about 600 million, used in the construction of Agenda 111. Agenda 111
Has not been constructed.
the president cut the sword in 2021, August. So in 2020, the 600 million Ghana cedis that was spent in the construction of Agenda 111, what did it do? It's important we're told what it was used for, what sort of construction we did, Did the president cut the sword for the commencement of a project when there were already facilities in place? Well, no.
No, because prior to that, none has been built.
None had been built. So the construction that we're talking about, are we engaged in figurative construction or the preparatory stages?
Yeah.
Does it amount to
Preparatory,
construction?
yeah.
What preparatory stages, amount did we spend?
600 million.
We need to know
before
all
sword
of
cutting.
it.
If I asked of even earlier this year, somewhere in March, when we did the RTI, I had seen some preparatory work being done on some of the areas, basically clearing of lands. That's basically what had been done. There wasn't a single place in this country as of March this year which had a fully constructed hospital. So
So in 2020, how did we spend 600 million
yes,
on this?
that's also an
Yeah.
interesting dynamic that we should be getting some clarity
Exactly.
on.
So, I mean, from the foregoing, it's important that the probe by the Health and Finance Committees of Parliament is important. We'll come back to have a
We'll
conversation
talk more
on
about this
yeah.
later.
Yeah. Now, the very last story, government's priority is to support growth of indigenous companies. That's the vice president speaking there.
All right, new crusading guide really quickly. Government demonstrates transparency on COVID expenditure. Ghana's economy on the verge of collapse with huge debts, according to Sylvester Mensah. Osu Stool launches official emblem. And is either of you building your mansion in Okwegono?
Not at all.
No, Winston?
No,
Your pyramid-shaped
how can the
mansion
masses-
to remind you of the
I'm a
good
man
old
of the
days in
people.
Egypt?
I live like the people.
All right. Well, anyway, the Nungwa Chief of
Comrade,
Staff
comrade.
is cautioning Okwegono residents because the Supreme Court judgment has favored them, and
Okay.
some people are walking around with a High Court judgment. So,
Interesting.
he's cautioning them on that.
Anyway,
Ghanaian Times, real quick. Government spends 12 billion Ghana cedis in 2020-21, according to Finance Minister. Ghana and Malta to deepen ties in tourism culture. School children and vehicles trapped in heavy rains in Takrady. It's still bad. Speaker tasks Joint Committee to investigate COVID-19 expenditure. And on the back, electronic waste recycling facility ready in October. And GSS presents 14 vehicles to MDAs for data collection.
Well, let's get to the online news review now.
It's brought to us by Zenith Bank, in your best interest, and Goyle Good Energy.
Now, Goil, your oil marketing company of choice, keeps making life so convenient for you. Go now access Momo for all fuel purchases at selected stations. Just remember to Momo it at Goil. And that's not all. You can also use your bank card to buy fuel at Goil. And this is made possible by apps that drive to Goil stations. Now buy your fuel, pay by Momo or a bank card, and you're good to go. Goil Good Energy. Goil, yeah, your deal.
All right, now are you hesitating between changing your tiles and redesigning your bathroom? From June 25 to July 9, during Bati Days at Batimat, you don't have to choose anymore. The Bati Days is when you can get up to 50% discount on all product families, tiling, sanitary, electricity, and tools. Yeah, all the ranges in promotion at reduced prices. So don't hesitate to visit their showroom. That's Batimat's Bati Days. Take advantage of exceptional discounts of up to 50% of all their product families from June 25 to July 9. You will be able to do some crazy things. Batimat, everything for construction from starting to finishing. I don't think they tested this one in Jamaica.
Anyway, let's get to myjoyonline.com. COVID-19 funds, Akufo-Addo and Finance Minister giving contradictory accounts. That's according to the minority. CityNewsroom.com this morning. COVID-19, Ghana Health Service worried over COVID-19 rates among children in Accra. And BBC this morning says Taliban appeal for aid after deadly earthquake. Well, Taliban. Anyway, let's get to the BBC News, brought to us by Fidelity Bank. Believe with us in Edlom Housing, where quality and spacious homes cost less, and Millennium Insurance, your trustworthy partner.
This is a bank, First Atlantic Bank, a shining purple star to brighten up my day. First Atlantic Bank, professionally different services all day long. First Atlantic Bank, and it feels so cool. I know this is where I belong. Come on, everybody, this is a bank like no other. First Atlantic Bank. Follow me, let's go now.
Atlantic Bank. Refreshingly different.
Jack, you know my boss owns a fleet of commercial cars and he drives only brand new vehicles. Latest. Before he hired me, this is what he said. Krachi, my vehicles are my investment. It is a winning, now winning, and you buy any fuel apart from Goil. Waboka, sign this undertaking.
But he was right?
Yes, and he's right. Goil stocks only higher grade fuels, further enriched with XP3, multifunctional enhancer, more efficient, eco-friendly, and at no extra cost. Available at every Goil station at Jibedia. Goil Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP, higher grade fuels, excellent for modern engines and all vehicles. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yes, yeah.
Good energy.
At Enterprise Life, it's possible to live your best life. Ladies, enjoy cover for your lifestyle with Bloom, life insurance for today's woman. Families, let's safeguard your well-being with a family income security plan because family matters. And for you, live freely with our funeral finance plan unlimited with no restrictions, no limits as you cover your loved ones and yourself. WhatsApp us on 0554 001 924 or call 0307 084 444 for your solution.
You for dream big. Dream big with us.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Your word is onomatopoeia. Main Event Ghana, organizers of Spelling Bee League Ghana, presents Spellington 2022. For 4 years, the Spelling Bee League has given us back-to-back excitement from the country's best spellers. This year, the campaign is set to kick off and it's all fun. It's your award between the ages of 9 to 15, all in grade 5 through to grade 9. Then, get them registered for this year's Spellington and stand a chance to win a full year's scholarship. Yes, a full year's scholarship.
Simply visit www.spellingbeeleague.com/register or scan our flyer to enroll. After registration, all participants will be provided with a Spelling Bee toolkit and be trained for free to participate. Registration is ongoing. For more information, contact 024 104 5797.
Spelling Bee League. Empowering Ghana, one word at a time. Onomatopoeia. ONOM.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries.